What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla in the overall market. I'm also going to give you guys a preview of the Robotaxi events, talk about more details about it. Not to mention why tomorrow is going to be in a very, very important day for the markets, as we have the big bank earnings, not to mention the PPI reports. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 of free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 in total. And deposit $25,000 or more, and you're guaranteed 75. The offer ends very soon, in just about 3 weeks from now. Anyways, now let's talk about the market. So looking at Tesla, we have a nice looking structure so far. Tesla has been on a downtrend for the last couple of weeks. And I say this because, there's been a lot of talk about the Robotaxi event. Ever since we got deliveries, Tesla basically has been on a downtrend, has been dipping since, making lower highs and lower lows. But the question now is, will Tesla get a big bounce? Is this going to be a cup and handle like structure, or is this a head and shoulders that's going to lead to more downside? The answer will come based off what happens at the Robotaxi event. That's why I want to talk about more details about it. And I'll break down some charts. So when it comes to the Robotaxi event, I want to remind everyone it's going to be today, tonight. For those who are in different parts of the USA, it's going to be at different times. The presentation, known as the We Robots Robotaxi presentation for Tesla, is taking place today, October 10th, 10/10, at 10 o'clock a.m., 10 o'clock p.m., Eastern Standard Time. That is the same thing as 7 p.m. Pacific Time. So if you're in California, it's at 7 p.m. If you're on the East Coast in New York, wherever you guys are, it's going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. So the thing about this is it's going to be live streamed on X. And then when this happens, there's going to be millions upon millions of people watching this live. So I can't wait to see how things are going to be looking like. Elon Musk has made a lot of promises about robotaxis. Many people have criticized him for not really meeting those promises. And that happens, guys. It happens. Musk is a very, very big optimist. He does give a lot of dates that don't always end up panning out. But at the same time, I just want to say that we shouldn't let that kind of like phase us away from looking at what Tesla has achieved and what they've already done, and the amount of great things that Musk has also done for the company. Sure, say what you want about him, but he has been a big innovator. He's a very, very big inspiration, forming the team that's necessary and leading this company to like transitioning away from just being built around cars and sales and being built more around AI. So what else is going on now? So there's going to be some updates about Optimus. For those who don't know, that's going to be Tesla's humanoid robot. I think they may give us more insights about it. Musk has said in the past it's going to be a product that you can buy by the end of 2025. So it's like about a year from now. It's going to be able to perform useful tasks by the end of this year. So we'll see. We'll see what they show us. It could be very, very interesting. Excuse me. I heard that they might be partnering with McDonald's. I don't know for sure, guys. It's just a possibility. Maybe Optimus will be involved in that, maybe not. I've heard some people talk about that. So we'll see. We'll see about that. That could be pretty cool. For the Robotaxi specifically, we're going to be listening to see what they have to say about its launch date. So I would really advise that you guys pay attention to the dates. Do they plan on releasing Robotaxi in 2026, 2027? Who knows which year it's going to be? I don't think that the Robotaxi is ready yet, but it may take some years to get there. But a lot of big developments could be being made. Also, Tesla's going to likely do a demo of the Robotaxi by showing us FSD and its capabilities. They might do that, so that could be very, very cool as well in some kind of event. So it's taking place in Hollywood today at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I can't wait to see what else they announce. There is one Tesla bull known as Gene Munster, so big credit to him. He believes Tesla's going to be unveiling 3 new cars. Very, very cool stuff. Will that happen? I don't know for sure, but it could be very, very interesting. So, what are the EVs he's talking about? He's talking about how there could be a Tesla van coming out, the Cybercab, not to mention the $25,000 EV. So, a bunch of these could be coming out. We'll see about that. I mean, would a Robo van be coming out? That would be very, very awesome. Can't wait to see. So, what is my opinion? What is my view about all of that? So, I already gave you guys my opinion about this yesterday. Let me just kind of clarify something. So Tesla is technically bearish. Okay, it's been making lower highs and lower lows for the last couple of weeks. So if you look at this, this is like more bearish. But when you zoom out of Tesla like this, there's something else you could do. You could go to like the daily chart. I think it is. I believe it's the daily I was looking at last time. And one could argue the daily still has a giant inverse head and shoulders, and that this low right here is kind of like equivalent to like this sell off here. We're about to get one rally back up. You could argue that if this truly is a symmetrical structure, but I'm not really too convinced about it being just super symmetrical to the point where everything has to play out perfectly. in essence, it's still possible we drop down to like 220, then get a big bounce, or we could just rally straight up from here. So technicals don't really prove anything at this point. It matters more upon what Tesla ends up doing. So I want to make that very clear. Technicals do look a little bit more bearish, but they're not everything. It depends more on what the event gives us. So what's going to happen? So we have this gap down here to fill at 230. Also, there's this big imbalance down here around the 220, 210 area. So what I think is going to happen is this. Okay, if they give us the Robotaxi and like it's very awesome, it's very cool, but they don't give us anything else. If they just talk about how there's a Robotaxi coming out, they don't give us a new product to help boost their sales because Tesla's deliveries have been a little bit lackluster the last couple of quarters. So if they don't give us any new product and they just say that, hey, there's a Robotaxi coming out in the future, there's no prototype or anything like that. And if they don't give us like, if it's just like an FSD demo and that's all they show us, and they just talk about everything and just, continue like that, that's going to be more bearish for Tesla. Tesla could be dumping all the way down to 220, all the way down to the 220s. We will go. We'll fill the gap at 230, maybe start dipping lower. And this imbalance could take us all the way down to lower levels, potentially closer to like 214. So there could be a rug pull if Tesla does not do well and they just talk about FSD and the Robotaxi and nothing else. Okay. So it's not going to really meet up to our expectations if that ends up being the case. What do investors want? And this is the answer. We want to see some kind of cybercab prototype, but the bigger thing I think is going to be this. So a new potential vehicle, the Model 2, which would be a $25,000 EV. If they give us a robotaxi presentation that goes well, okay, let's just say they do that, and then they talk about Optimus, it's very exciting and all that. Talk is talk, but if they have a new concept and a new EV that's potentially coming out that's more affordable, which would be a lot more competitive in China and the USA, a $25,000 EV, we've been waiting for this for years, right? Musk has been saying this since 2019. If this comes out and they announce it's coming out, they have a prototype, they have a design, a $25,000 Model 2, if that's announced on top of everything, this thing is going to launch the upwards direction. I think Tesla's going to bounce. This could be a liquidity grab right here. We bounce off our 50 EMA and start pushing for at least 257 a share or higher by Friday or even early next week. So that's my opinion in a nutshell. Okay. Give us a new model, and as long as everything else goes well, right, with all the optimism about the future, Tesla pushes to 257, if not 260. If they do the opposite, they don't give us what we want, and we don't get that new EV, it's just some more talk about the Robotaxi. They just do an FSD demo and that's it. The share price could still dump. Okay, so that's my view of Tesla. We're expecting a new EV. I think that's what these investors are wanting. We've already dumped so much approaching the event, so I'm hoping we get a big bounce. I'm hoping that bounce comes. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. I'm optimistic. I hope Tesla does well. So we'll see how it goes. Let's wish for the best for Tesla nonetheless. When you look at the 4-hour time frame, we have this support right over here, our 200 EMA. And then this also could be like a cup and handle technically. This could lead to like a big push for Friday. We'll see if it's a cup and handle or not. Well, we're going to find out tomorrow morning. So that's my view of Tesla. How about for the broader markets? As a reminder, we had CPI today. Core CPI was a little bit above what we expected. We had core CPI month over month at 0.3% above expectations of 0.2%. We had CPI year over year on the core side. So that's for core CPI at 3.3% year over year, which is a little bit above what we were expecting at 3.1 to 3.2%. However, for all items, CPI month over month, we're expecting 0.2%. I'm sorry, we got 0.2%. That was above what we were expecting. And then for inflation year over year, we got 2.4%. That's a little bit above as well, but still not too bad. So all items CPI was okay, but core was a little bit hot. When you look at the chart, you'll see what I'm talking about. All items CPI down here, the blue line was okay, not too bad. But then for core CPI, this did go up a little bit. So this signifies that there's a possibility that tomorrow, when PPI data comes out, PPI month over month is going to be okay. PPI year over year is going to be okay, but the core side of things may not be that great. So be a little bit careful with this. We're expecting core PPI month over month to be around 0.2%. We could get 0.3%. And then we're expecting core PPI year over year to be between 2.4 and 2.7%. So it might be a little bit above what we saw previously. So be very, very mindful of that. Keep that in mind. It could affect the market as well. PPI comes out an hour before the market opens, and we also have some Michigan consumer sentiment data at 10 a.m. So look for some volatility then. The second to last thing is this. We have some big bank earnings. We have JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, and BlackRock announcing earnings tomorrow morning before market open. And the market's at greed. We're still seeing indicators still at these extremely greedy places. The puts and call option ratio is neutral, though we'll see if this goes up or not, depending on inflation and other factors like that. So, what's my view of the charts now? Let's just focus on the charts. What do I think is going to happen? In essence, tomorrow's going to be a big day with all the data that's coming out. But for Tesla, it all depends and it all hinges upon the Robotaxi event. Give us a new EV and do really, really well, the $25,000 more affordable EV. Tesla's going to bounce very nicely for at least 257 to fill that gap. If they do the opposite, if we don't get what we're looking for, and they don't do too well, we could be dumping to the 220s. Okay, so we'll see how Tesla does. That's what my view is. Maybe today I'll be back in the morning to give you guys an update. We'll see. No, I'm sorry, not in the morning. The nighttime I might be back. We'll see about that. For SPY, I do want to call this out. So SPY is bullish, technically speaking, but I do notice that there's a big rising wedge that's forming with a triple bearish divergence. So we have a confluence of bearish indicators. So, and let me kind of like elaborate what that means. Let me remove these drawings just to show you. On SPY, my concern is this. This is looking like a very, very nice rising wedge, right? We have a rising wedge like this, just like this. So could this lead to a big shift in the share price? We'll have to see about that. The end of this wedge is very close to about late October, but it could break out at any given moment. So you have to remember that. So from how I see things, the market could try to push depending on PPI, but I think SPY is going to be topping very soon, very close to the 580 area. We're near a top very, very soon. The triple bearish divergence will eventually play out, and I think that heading into the election, the market's going to see an increase in volatility and more potential downside. After the election, we might be looking for even more of a rug pull, so be very mindful of that. That could lead to a bigger dip. So could the market push hard tomorrow with PPI? Yes. If we get past 577, we're looking for 580. If we lose 575, we're looking for 573.8. We're in the middle right now, so give this some time. As of right now, the chart is more bullish, so it looks like it wants to push for that 577 target, if not a little bit higher. But even if we go higher, I still anticipate there's going to be a big rug pull, and my view has not changed. I still have the same view. The market has that potential. So keep that in mind, guys. That's what we're looking out for very, very carefully as we have a rising wedge-like structure. For other factors out there, we also happen to have ES with the same rising wedge. We have 5850 is our resistance. If that breaks, we're looking for another push to all-time highs. If we lose 5800, we're looking for 5780 is our support. As of right now, the chart remains bullish, so we'll give this the time it needs. It could attempt to push a little higher with PPI, but we still have a rising wedge. I think we're still setting ourselves up for a rug pull in November. For Nvda, we've done a good job on Nvda at pushing, but I do have one concern about it. I want to talk about what that concern is. As you guys know, Nvidia has been basically outperforming the market for quite some time. But the problem is every time we hit 136 to 140, we do reject. We could push for 136 to 140. We'll see if we reject. So give it the time it needs. So be very patient. For Bitcoin, we have a head and shoulders like structure. We basically have this 60,500 areas resistance. And if we lose the 59,000 area, we could be dipping lower towards 57,700. So it could be a little pop and drop like move coming to Bitcoin. There could be a dip, so watch for that very carefully. For NQ, we look more bullish. We could be looking for 20,500. If that breaks, I think we could get very close to the highs up here to like the higher 20,000 area, but we could still get a rejection once we reach those high levels. For the QQQ, we're trying to push a little bit higher. We're looking for basically 495 as our resistance. If we end up losing 485, it could be dipping, but this still looks a little bit more bullish, so give this the time it needs. For Apple looks a little bit more bullish as well. We could be looking for a pump back up towards 232. If 230 breaks, look for 232, and we'll see if we reject or not off that level. But that's what I'm seeing, at least for now, for the broader markets. Now, for the rest of these, I think Palantir still looks bullish. But look at 44 as resistance. We could get closer to 45 before this thing turns. So far, it remains more bullish, but look at that tough resistance at 44. For Supermicro, we're just range bound. We look a little bit more bearish here. We could be dipping back down to about 45.65, if not 44. So look for a small dip on Supermicro as the most likely move. For Rivian, we're dipping a bit. We could be dipping back down to about 10 flat, but we'll see if we bounce. We're still holding up decently in the 10s. As you can see, it's trying to base here. So look for a little bit of a dip. We'll see what the reaction happens to be. For SoFi, we're in a bit of an uptrend. We're looking for basically this 8.75 areas of resistance. We have this main support around 8.38. I think SoFi could push a little higher and get closer to about 8.8, but it depends on the big bank earnings. That could be another factor for it. The IWM is just completely range bound. We have basically 218 as resistance and then 215 as support. We could push for 218, then dip back down to 215, so give this the time it needs. For AMD, We have 165 as resistance if we don't reclaim that. Red risk will coming down to about 160. For ARM, we have this resistance up here around this 150 area. If we reject, we're going to be dipping back down towards 146. For Coinbase, we have a weak head and shoulders like structure, so we could be pushing for 167, then reject and start dipping to about 160. So watch to see if that ends up being the case. For Amazon, we hit 188. If we reject, we're looking for 185 and then 183. We could be dipping back down to 185. For Meta, we're rejecting right here. If we don't reclaim 586, we're at risk of coming down to 577. So it could be a dip right over there. For Microsoft, we were making lower highs right over here. If we don't break and hold above 416, we could be dipping back down to about 410. So I see a risk of this dipping lower as well. For Bitcoin, we're also on a bit of a downtrend. If we don't reclaim 165, we're at risk of dipping down to 160. So be mindful of that. As far as the VIX goes, I want to mention that we have this big gap down here to fill. If the VIX loses 20.75, we could be dipping down to fill that gap. And then that could also lead to more downside. So be very, very mindful of that. With the VIX kind of dipping and losing the support, there could be more downside for the VIX. And that could be because of the market trying to push a little bit higher. There's always that chance the market's going to try to go higher as the VIX drops. But even if that's the case, I still see another gap up here in the 36 as the VIX is going to fill. So I'm bullish on the VIX. We could dip first before it tries to break out, signifying that the market may attempt to the market may pump a bit before it starts to see a rug pull. The dollar's already breaking out, so we'll give it some time. But so far, the market remains bullish. So we'll see how the market moves tomorrow. Tesla has the big event, so get ready for the Robotaxi event. It's going to be starting very, very soon, about 2.5 hours, hopefully. Sometimes they're a little bit late, so we'll see about that. But that's it for my view of the market. So I want to thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys very soon. Maybe tonight, if I have some time, I'll try to talk about the Robotaxi event. If not, I'll be back tomorrow. So I'll see you guys then. Have a great night and peace out.